The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
From Daytona to Homestead, the United Sim Racing League makes its final stop at the famous Homestead Miami Speedway for the chase for the championship in tonight's B&C and USR Crown of Champion 200 at Homestead. Three drivers are the topic of tonight, each with their own different story and how they got to the championship. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the finale here at Homestead. My name is Austin Coop. Alongside me is James Pike and Cisco Scaramuza in the production trailer. James, let's talk about Homestead. Let's talk about championship. These guys, they're ready to go. All three of them. We have them in order from how they placed in the last race, or the last round, I should say. It was the number 68 of Scott Simley, then Aaron Bennett and Greg Mall. Those three drivers are the ones we need to watch tonight.
Yeah, Scott Simley, Aaron Bennett, Greg Mall, all three very consistent drivers over the course of the year. Mall's got a victory, Simley's got a victory. Bennett doesn't have a victory yet this season, but could he find a way to get to victory lane tonight and cap off this championship run with a win and the championship at the same time? We've seen it in the last few years in the Cup Series. Might happen here tonight as well if he plays his cards right.
Scott Simley, he has that one win, Charlotte, a few weeks ago, and is the favorite coming into tonight's race. He's also a champion in this series, so definitely someone to look at. Aaron Bennett, like you just said, he has not had a win this season. I'm sure he's looking to finally get that win this season. He's had so many runner-up finishes. It's quite impressive how many second-place finishes. He's been just almost as consistent as Scott Simley here in this last 9 races, and then you get to Greg Mall, who squeezed his way by the first 3 rounds, and now he's here. He might be the dark horse that we need to talk about here in that number 12 machine. Currently hasn't taken his time or has not been able to make a time at qualifying, but these are the 3 drivers we talk about. There was 12, there's now 3, and Homestead's such a good track to kind of play this out at with the progressive banking and the way this track changes. I think this is a perfect track for these trucks to come to. I mean, these guys are going to be throwing the entire thing in there and hoping it works, and maybe we'll see a little bit of strategy here before it's all over.
Yeah, there are a lot of variables that we can talk about the track. Also, a lot of history here on the line, too. Simley could go back-to-back if he wins the championship tonight. That would be a first in this series. Mall hasn't won since Auto Club, way back 5th race of the season, but could also snag the championship with a victory here tonight. And I think you're right. I think especially if we see a lot of long green flag runs, this place tends to be a spot where you can see some strategy playing out if we get going for 40, 50, 60 laps at a time. And I think also more importantly, you'll see a wide variety of lanes run here. You can run the bottom, you can run the top, depending on where we are in a run and where your tire wear is at. You can be all over the place in the quarters here at Homestead, Miami, and it makes for an exciting track to watch.
Yeah, with about a minute left until the action all unfolds. We also got to talk about other drivers that have been really good this season. We won't really be able to talk about them a lot this race or after the race because we'll be focusing on those championship guys. But definitely got to give a big shout out to Justin Michael, who got 8 wins on the season. Unofficially 9, but that 9th win does technically go to Ashton Crowder for actually finishing first. That he got that win taken away, got basically an encumbered win. But 8 wins to Justin Michael. I think that's a It's a high for any drivers on the record. And then Jamie Walker also walked away with 5 wins as well. So those drivers did extremely well throughout the season. Both missed races within the championship, which took them out. So those 2 drivers did an excellent job this season. But it's these 3 drivers that we need to worry about here. And I think we will be excited to crown one of them at the end of the day as Scott Simley, Aaron Bennett, and Greg Mall do battle here at Homestead. Qualifying has finished up, and Jason Jacoby, he's had a lot of good starts this season. He will start from the pole, and then Aaron Bennett, championship driver, he'll start second, and then Tommy Ryan starts third. Michael Atkins Jr. starts in the 3rd position, or sorry, that's the 4th position, and Dwayne Dunn, he will start in the 5th position.
6th place is where you'll find Justin Michael starting this evening. 7th will be the first of our championship, or second rather, of our championship contenders, Scott Simley. Jamie Walker begins from the 8th position. 9th is where you'll find Ralph Vandervorst on our grid. 10th belongs to the 42 of Matt Mara.
Robert Dillenwater will start 11th. Randy Yoakum starts 12th. Shane Hawthorne will start in the 13th position with Jeff Ryan starting 14th. Randy Tether 15th.
These cars all not taking time here in the qualifying session from here on back. Steve Price Jr. will begin tonight from the 16th position. Greg Mall, one of the championship contenders, will start from 17th, so he'll have to work his way from the back to the front. Michael Waters starts at the 18th position. 19th will be the 28th of Michael Warren, and Chris Gibbo will round out your top 20.
And that's a look at your starting grid. A little bit of track facts here for you tonight. Here at Homestead, Florida, the Homestead Miami Speedway, we got about 18 to 20 degrees of banking, progressive banking in those corners, and about 3-degree banking on the straights for a total of 1.5 miles here. And then it's going to be about 133 laps for 200 miles here tonight as they get off the grid.
Everybody coming onto the banking or the pit exit lane here at Homestead, Miami. Take your pick. Nice little split between some of these drivers. But, yeah, I think early storylines, I look at Greg Mall coming from 17th, trying to work his way up towards the front of the field. We'll have to have a good car, or truck rather, but we'll also have to be patient. Make sure that you don't make too many mistakes early or get caught up in other people's hard racing. Also have to watch and see what Bennett does and what Simley does here, because we're fighting for a championship after all. It's not going to be easy pickings.
Yeah, and make the dark horse for Greg Mall even more darker as he's going to start in 17th place out of 22 trucks. He tried to qualify out there and did not get it done, so definitely going to have to dig himself out of a hole. It's a long race, so anything can happen, and with those guys up front, we'll just have to see how it happens. Jason Jacoby, though, another pole on the season. He's had quite a few, actually, of front row starts, and we'll just have to see what he can do here. It's going to be the championship night, and Jason Jacoby will start these guys for 200 miles here at Homestead.
Jacoby with a nice jump, maybe out ahead by about a car length and a half. Bennett immediately drops to the bottom, and then you've got Ryan, Atkins, Dunn, and Michael all kind of racing side by side. They'll fan out a little bit on the back straightaway, but it's those front two that have cleared everybody. Back to third is where you find your first battle. Tommy Ryan and Michael Atkins side by side into turn 3.
And the momentum from last week for Michael Atkins Jr. has got to be setting in. He finished third last week, and it's a great finish for him. He still got Ryan on the outside. He let him have the room, could have shut the door, but did not. That 44 machine still on the inside, and this track, the inside and outside are very equal, and sometimes the outside can get you, but he's going to try and clear him out of 2. He's going to do so, but the 6 almost gets in contact with the A7, and Justin Michael on the inside right there. And he was boxed in. He could not go to the inside even though he had the momentum. Look at that 87. He's hard charging for that third position. Now he's going to climb up the track just a little bit. And now he's going to get that third position. Looking behind him, 3 wide for just a moment. That's going to be the 39 of Dwayne Dunn. And the 17 of Jamie Walker trying to get by the 6 of Tommy Ryan as well. And now it clears out, going to 1 and 2.
Now it settles out. Now everybody gets into a single file line, and that's the way they look all the way through the top 8 trucks, all single file back to Scott Simley, one of your championship contenders. First battle side by side is going to be Shane Hawthor and, oh, guess who? Greg Mall, another one of our championship contenders. He's to the inside of that number 11 truck, and we'll try and make it happen. But caution here, trouble in turn 4, 2 cars around into the inside retaining wall in the back of the field.
Up and over goes Steve Price Jr., hits the inside pit wall and tumbles on the front straightaway as we have our first caution of the night, and that was just behind our championship driver and got really close. We're going to replay up and see exactly what happened. Looks like a little bit of contact. Looked like that was Steve Price who turned around, unknowing driver Jeff Ryan in the corner, and that truck went to the far outside and hit it, and then Steve Price just hit the barrels and tumbled up and over. He's dead. Both those drivers' nights are going to be done, and I think no other drivers really got a lot of damage, but a big wreck coming out of turns 4 for the first 3 laps.
That should end both of their nights prematurely. Heavy damage on both trucks, and that just looked like a racing incident. You saw one truck kind of holding its line, another one thinking that I think he was clear and tried to get up to the outside. That's the best guess I've got, but just wasn't enough racing room, and around they went, and into the wall they went as the rest of the field comes down to pit road for our first pit stops of the evening.
Jason Jacoby, he will stay out with 3 lap-old tires. How many drivers take 2 and how many drivers go and stay 4? Aaron Bennett will be one of the drivers to take 2 tires, and I don't think anybody else. Oh, we got a car almost in the outside wall. It's the number 2. Looks like Randy Yoakum had trouble getting out of his box there momentarily and had to roll it down there for a little bit, completely stop on pit road. But we have a little bit of strategy up front, but I don't think it helped either one of them as Jason Jacoby, he'll continue to lead, but Aaron Bennett's the only one who tried something different on pit road, came with 2 tires, and he's going to be the first one on 2 tires. It's not a bad call, I'd say. He's still a championship lead at the moment, still above Scott Simley, who's residing in the 8th position, but if we have a long green flag run, that might change, and you got to think about other drivers like Greg Mall, who's come up to 12th position, 5 positions up after only 3 laps of action.
Yeah, Ball's the one I looked at and I noticed and I said, man, he's coming through the field quickly, isn't he? Made it up 5 spots in 3 laps, and with this field only being 22 trucks big, you know, not going to be that long before he gets up to the front of this field if he keeps up at that pace. So we've got to watch the yellow numbers on that number 12 truck. Might see that thing come charging through the field, and he'll have company in that championship fight too, because Scott Simley is going to restart in the road directly ahead of him.
Yeah, and you can't forget about those yellow numbers either. All 3 of those drivers have the yellow numbers, if we haven't talked about them enough already, but they have their yellow numbers on their trucks and they have it on the ticker. So if you want to know where all 3 of those championship drivers are, you can definitely look on the ticker as well as on their trucks, and you'll be able to notice with those the numbers where they exactly are, as Bennett is in the 2nd position, Simley is in 7th. We'll document it all night, but it is a little helpful if we get a little bit of other action around the track. As other action does unfold, Jason Jacoby, he will try staying out, and we'll see how this plays out. And Aaron Bennett also on that 2-tire strategy. We'll see how each of those strategies play out with 6 laps in, coming to 7 right now. iRacing official pace car is going to come down pit road, and a huge jump by the number 1 of Jason Jacoby is going to get him at least 2 truck lengths before the field as we go green on lap number 7.
I think that was more Michael Atkins just not getting going on the restart than anything else, because he dropped 2 spots, maybe 3 here, and Jamie Walker can clear him on the outside, but Atkins just did not get a good jump at all down the front straightaway as they came back to the restart, and that gave Aaron Bennett and Tommy Ryan the chance to get around the outside of the number 44 and go grab 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, and look who's in 4th place right there. Atkins Jr. trying to get a little bit more this time by, and he's going to get by Jamie Walker on the outside of the track right there. And gotta say that with the way the 44 ran last week, he's got to be hungry to maybe get as equal of a finish, if not better, going into this race. And it's the last one of the season, but it never is done before it's over. And look at the inside. Scott Simley's trying to get some positions here. He needs to get to the front before this one's all over. He's getting the inside of the 42 of Matt Mara right there.
Simley now working underneath Mara, trying to ground the position. Mara will have it at the line, but Simley still there on the inside, and right behind him, look who it is, Greg Mall. Meanwhile, battle up front for the race lead. You've got Aaron Bennett trying to look to the outside of Jason Jacoby. Nothing there yet. Actually, I think Bennett got a little bit either loose or tight, couldn't quite tell, but didn't quite get the drive off of turn 2 that he would have wanted. So Jacoby will hang on to the lead, but for how long?
Yeah, that battle for the lead is getting very, very close, but looks like Jason Jacoby, he's going to be able to hold on at the moment over the two guys behind him, but the more they fight, the more these guys will be able to catch up. Ryan and Atkins Jr., it's kind of a four-horse race if these guys start to keep racing by each other. And look behind him, look like the number 17 is going to get passed by on the inside by the 39 of Dwayne Dunn. They're actually heads up on the back straightaway. And look at those guys fight for position. Looks like the 17 is going to really dig in the corner. But while that happens, look at the inside for the lead. Aaron Bennett, he's right there off of turns number 4. He's going to try and get him into 1, but it looks like he's not going to have the momentum right now. He still has the inside bumper on the corner. He's going to come up the track just a little bit, and they're still side by side. Who's going to get it out of turns number 2? And it looks like the 3 is going to have the power off. They are still heads up on the back straightaway. This is a good battle here, James, for the lead and possibly the championship if Aaron Bennett gets this and doesn't lose it.
Well, Bennett's still got a little bit of buffer room. Simley currently runs in the 7th position, so he's got a little ways to play with if this doesn't necessarily work out. But I think the big key for Bennett here as they race for the lead is making sure that you don't burn off your tires while you try and pass Jacoby. That's the absolute last thing that you want to have happen, and especially here at a place like Homestead, where tire wear really does make a difference, and the fall off can be pretty severe if we complete a full green flag run. If you do this side by side, and especially if you're running the inside like Bennett is, that's the quickest way to burn tires off. That's the fastest way to hit tire wear quickly, but doesn't matter. Bennett will be able to jump in front of Jacoby and take away the race lead.
Yeah, look at the new leader. Aaron Bennett leads his first or second lap, actually. And also want to note that Greg Mall just got by Scott Simley, so that's a battle that just happened while this lead happened as well. And those two are championship drivers back in the pack. The number 12 and the number 68, those two doing battle still. 12 got by him and he's got a truck length, so watch that number 12 driver. He is carving up the field, up 10 positions. One of the biggest leaders biggest movers we've seen all day, and he's following Dwayne Dunn on the inside right there. He's going to get under the 17 once again to try and get that position. We've seen those two do battle for just about the most of this green flag run, and they are not done coming out of 2. And that 12 is looking for one of them to mess up so he can get that position.
Mall just biding his time very nicely. I like the way he's come up through this field. It's been very patient, very calculated, a sort of precision in this passing, if you will. He's picking his spots, executing when he needs to, and making quick work of the rest of the field, getting around them. If you have to go through the field, that's about as good as you can do it.
Yeah, and he's going to get the pass done on the 39 and Dwayne Dunn right there. And he's also going to be the inside of the 17. Can he get 2 trucks and a lap? He might be able to do it, but I know the 17 of Jamie Walker is going to be able to power on the outside as he typically does, but maybe not. He's still right there with him. And don't forget about the 39. He wants in there as well, and he might just get this pass done before turn 1 is over. And he's going to. Dwayne Dunn still trying to get around the 17. Looks like the 12 got by them both with ease and now has a humongous block between himself and the 68 right now. That's the biggest thing you need. Oh, wow. The 17 and 39 almost hit each other off the corner. Looks like that 17 got a little bit tight, got out of the gas and overturned it just a little bit out of the corner. But they're going to keep it straight. Those two are still doing battle, even though those chase drivers are right next to them.
Simley now has to find a way to get around both of these drivers, and they've been racing hard since the drop of the green flag on this restart. So especially now that Mall has cleared both Dunn and Walker and is driving away from those two, I think it's imperative that Simley finds a way around quickly. He can't lose sight of that 12 car.
Yeah, with those two still fighting with each other, you got to imagine the 68. Yeah, it's early in the race, but it's just 2 more cars that are in front of Mall, and Mall is starting to get away from him and starting to chase the guys in front of him. So that's got to be a little bit on the mind, and it actually looks like the 17 is going to let him go. Realizes right now a battle like this earlier on the season would still happen, but he's definitely holding up the 39 right there. And or the 68, I should say, and he's going to let him by. So good class act by the 17 of Jamie Walker right there.
Walker's one of the most experienced drivers in this series and a former champ, so no surprise there to see somebody like him kind of know his situation, know his place in tonight's story, in tonight's race, and just make sure that he doesn't get in the way of the championship fight. But I figure if that car, or rather that truck, is still around towards the end of this race, we know he's got the pace just about everywhere this series goes. He might have something to say about how this plays out if we get down to 20 and 10 to go and he's still there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these drivers will definitely play in part of that, and I think that all the championship drivers will rise to the top when it comes to the end of this one. We see it happen in almost every series that's covered throughout the NASCAR series and throughout the series through the ones that we cover as well. I mean, we saw RSR last season. They had all 4 of their drivers up there at the front, and Aaron Bennett's at the front. He's where he needs to be. Greg Mall is carving his way through the field, and similarly, he's where he was when he started, but we know that he can get it done when it matters. So we got to think that he's going to probably come up the field as well. It's just kind of when he wants to, or when he seems to be right. I think Greg Mall is more on the urgent side right now, but if this goes long, how well will those tires feel out for that 12 and all the other drivers as well? Because there's a lot of drivers pushing really hard, and I don't think that 68's pushing hardly at all right now.
No, but if you decide to push a little bit in this segment and you burn off the tires, you still have time to make it back up. And to some degree, I think that's not necessarily a bad idea to try and experiment and see just how much you can push the tires, because if you burn them off now and you lose time here and we get towards the end of the green flag run and pit, it's at least not the last run of the race, where if you burn your tires off, you don't have a chance to regroup. So very, very key, I think, to know just exactly how your car will handle under the course of a long green flag run.
And speaking about the coming into pit road and seeing how long these tires will go, it's about a 30-lap run that these trucks can typically take. It's not that long of a run when you think about it, because these trucks have a limited fuel cell. So these trucks, they do have limited laps on there. So typically when they come down, they'll take all 4 tires, because they're going to be back pretty soon again, or maybe they'll take the 2 tires to get that truck fueled up quickly. We know that the strategy has so far worked for Aaron Bennett, taking those 2 tires and getting past Jason Jacoby. And Jacoby's strategy is not bad. Look up front though. Looks a little action. Looks like we have a slow car. Looks like Jeff Ryan, number 88 machine. He was really slow on the back straightaway. Almost got hit by somebody. It was too many cars going sporadic. I think it was Jason Jacoby who was trying to get out of. He was trying to get out of his way. So that number 88 machine a little bit hurt on this one, and he hit the outside wall. And he's trying to make sure he stays out of these guys' way as he gets lapped.
Yeah, I saw that coming from about a straightaway away. Jeff Ryan, I think, either got really tight on corner exit in 2 or something. I couldn't quite totally tell what it was, but he got into the wall down the back straightaway and was just really struggling to make it happen, and is still struggling now with that injured 88 machine after he got caught up in the lone caution on the race. So he's just trying to soldier on with the repairs that have been made to that car. It's definitely not 100%, but is just trying to stay out of the way and make sure that he completes as many laps as possible here, but almost did cause a problem for the leaders.
Next battle that's going to be on track is that battle for the 2nd position. Jason Jacoby, he did not take any tires or fuel on that last stop. He's in front of Michael Atkins and Tommy Ryan right now for that 2nd position. He goes up the track pretty hard in all these corners, but look right there on the inside. Atkins Jr. is right there. He's definitely looking to get that inside line. He's got the tires to get around him, but can he get around him in time? That way that 6 doesn't pounce on it either. And that 6 is really close too. Make it 3 wide. Not quite yet. He's actually trying to try and push him around. Jason Jacoby knows that they're both faster at the moment. The outside is kind of where you want to be, but the bottom is really where you pass here at this track. Maybe they can get an advantage on him right here. Jacoby is just trying to hang on to those tires as it goes. 26 laps on those tires is a long time. And look at Greg Mall. He's now into the picture with these guys. So don't forget about the 12 truck right now. He is now almost in the top 5. Actually, he is in the top 5 and trying to get even more. It's kind of a layer of the beast right now, although these guys are 2 by 2 after the leaders 2 seconds in front of them.
And if you're Greg Mall, this is absolutely the last thing you want to see. Drivers racing hard for position early in the race, right in front of you, where if something happens, you have absolutely nowhere to go. So you know Mall is either going to want them to sort this out quickly or try and find a way around everyone, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon, because Atkins and Ryan and Jacoby are all racing really, really bunched up, and no one's been able to get away. It's just been a little battle pack of sardines right there.
Yeah, and whenever Atkins Jr. got by, you saw the space he was able to get on him, and he's able to really pull away. And Tommy Ryan, he's got around the number 1 now as well, so we'll see what he can do. Pole Sitter's in a little bit of trouble right now, and the 12 is going to be on the inside. I doubt he gives him as much grief as he gave the other 2 drivers just then, but that 12 is going to also try and fight hard as if it was any of his championship driver colleagues right there, and he's still going to have him by about a fender or so, but he's still on the outside. And while that all happened, 2.5 seconds back is what these drivers are now. And then you've got this 68 going to battle with this 39 and Dwayne Dunn behind him. We said that maybe that 68 will come through, and right now he's starting to pass for position.
Trying to make it happen is Scott Simbley. Got to get back up to the 12 of Greg Mall, and this would be one step closer to the rear bumper of that number 12 Miller Lite Chevrolet Silverado. Simbley trying to find a way around Dunn. Might get the drive he needs into 3, and there it is. Yes, Dunn backed off on corner entry to let the 68 pass, just like Jamie Walker did a few laps ago with Greg Mall. Gave him the room he needed to go chase after that championship. If you're not in the championship hunt, don't want to be the reason that one of the 3 drivers trying to fight for the title ends up losing his shot. So Simley now up to the 6th spot. It's 2 spots up to Mall and 4 seconds to the race leader, Aaron Bennett. The 68 will continue his charge, try and get up back towards that front spot.
Yeah, all those championship drivers in the top 6. Watching that 12 though right now, we've been watching him a lot. He almost swipes the bumper of the 6 right there, and he might get a run out of 4. He's very, very close to getting that position right now. And that 12 car, I think that's the one that I'm most surprised about, or at least surprised about. But more, I was not expecting him to come up the field this quick. He's come up through the field a lot quicker than I think either of us were really expecting, and I think we were more or less expecting the 68 to come through the field as consistent as he's been throughout the season to get top 5 finishes. But right now, he's getting around the number 1, and I think these guys are just getting really close to their competition a little bit more than I think they're hoping for, and I think the 12 right now wants to get around both of these drivers who are fighting position, and they have every right when you're a driver in this position. But that number 3 of Aaron Bennett starting to get away. He's now 3.5 seconds ahead of these guys, and if you're Greg Mall, you want these guys to really drop out of your way so he can try and catch him. But 3.5 seconds is a humongous lead at this point, and Aaron Bennett, he's really putting it on, and right now he's in a great position to win a race at 30 laps in and about 100 laps to go. But we've seen this happen to Aaron Bennett more than once, where he's had the lead, he's had the win, and it's early to say right now, but we've said he's in the position to win, and he's had it taken away from him. So I think the number 3 of Aaron Bennett is definitely not counting his chickens before they hatch, because he's been in this situation before.
Bennett has been in this situation for us. The 12 comes down, might be coming to pit road for service here a little bit early. I think this might be a scheduled short pit, perhaps. Don't quite know exactly what's going on, but that seems right. So 12 will come down for tires. Just, I don't think he wanted to be part of the battle that had been going on ahead of him. So we'll see the 12 car come down for service. Meanwhile, if you're wondering about Jason Jacoby and why he's fallen back all of a sudden, that car has damage on the right front, and I think it's affecting the handling of that number 1 Domino Chevy Silverado, because he's dropped back about 5 or 6 spots in the last 10 laps. Meanwhile, Scott Simley is now up in the 4th position and has continued to make his way to the front. So 68 beginning to make moves as Mall comes off pit road. Looks like there are no issues on that 12 car's pit stop. So clean stop for the 12 machine. Now he'll want to see this race go green so he can capitalize on the pit strategy.
Yeah, when you're going to that short pit cycle, you want the race to go green the rest of the way. And look at the 44 right there. Look at the battle on the back straightaway. Never mind that. The 44 was going the inside of the 6 right there, or the 68 was going the inside to try and get the position, but the 44 right there wanted to come to pit road. It looked like a block at first, but he was just trying to get down pit road. The 68 did not understand, and as they come to pit road, it's going to be the 6 of Ryan. Oh, the 44 right there of Atkins Jr. almost does not make it into pit road with his car intact. Almost hits the outside wall. Gillenwater is also coming down, but when you short pit, you always want that race to go long green flag, because if you ever get caught in that caution fest, as we've seen, or you can really get yourself caught a lap down, and when multiple drivers are a lap down, then it's kind of a problem.
And here comes Scott Simley now down pit road. So the second of your championship contenders coming in for what should be 4 tires and fuel. Also joined down pit road by Dwayne Dunn in the number 39 truck. So 2 drivers coming. I see one more. Randy Yoakum also down pit road as well. And here comes Aaron Bennett. So all of the leaders coming in within about the span of 5 laps, but they'll all come in for 4 tires and fuel and make their way back onto the racetrack.
Yeah, Bennett makes his trip down pit road, and he's one of the fastest trucks off that off the exit or access road. I said it right the first time. That access road right there. He was over 100 miles an hour exiting the access road and continuing to speed up, actually. And I think he's one of the only drivers to do that. So that's one of the things, is in order to extend your lead or to keep it, you have to really get onto pit road well. As you know, if you're the only driver, you have all that room to do it. We saw the 44 almost hit the 6s. He was going a lot faster. Things to think about whenever they're coming into pit road is the time you can lose. And look out, we got a car coming up the track. That was Shane Hawther, who came up the track out of the access road, possibly. I'm unsure what happened there. It looked like he was trying to come down pit road and was just going too fast, caught in the grass. I might get a replay here in just a second of exactly what happened.
I think he just kind of missed it somehow. I don't necessarily know. It's a weird spot to be going slow, because you would think if you miss the pit road entrance, you come down on the access road, on the exit or entrance rather of turn 3. So if you miss pit road, that's normally where you would end up coming in. But he was all the way down in turn 4 on the apron when he had trouble. So I don't really know what happened to that truck. We'll have to see what happened.
Yeah, it looks like he just came into the access road a little too hot. He did lead a lap, however, whenever you lose that much time trying to come into pit road, and I don't know if the officials are going to give a penalty for that or not, or whether they're just going to say, you lost all of the time, so we'll just give you that. No word from the tower yet on whether that's a penalty or not, but coming down pit road now, leads another lap right there, actually. But with all these guys coming by at the sound, or at the speed that they are, he's going to have a lot to make up right now. And Greg Mall appears to be the leader right now, if you take away Shane Hawther from that top spot. And that is a sight that driver wanted to see, but he just got passed actually by the 3 of Aaron Bennett. So Aaron Bennett up front, fresher tires by a couple laps, and then you've got the 12, but that is a lot closer battle than we were just seeing there.
Getting tight here, and this field's getting mixed up because of the green flag pit stops that will sort of shuffle people in the field and shuffle people in their positions on track, respectively. So Bennett now out front, but Maul, look at the way he cut the gap by short pitting. It was a 3.5-second lead for Aaron Bennett when he came down pit road, and now Bennett's only got 0.3 of a second to work with back to Maul. But he does have fresher tires than that 12 truck, so Bennett presumably should be able to drive away with the fresher rubber.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense with the reason why he's getting all that speed. But I think it was a plan that it was a decision that the 12 had to make at that point, because of the fact that he was so far, he's so close to those drivers in front of him. And he was being held up, and it was obvious. We saw it. He tried to get around them multiple times and just could not. And then when he tried to pass, it's almost like there was just no route to go. He couldn't go 3 wide. He couldn't go to the top. He had to go to the very bottom, which is the worst place at this track if you want to pass, just because it's so slow. There's so much progressive banking that you get so much speed. came down, got those tires before any of those other drivers up towards the front. Is paying a little bit now, but when it was a 3.5 second lead, now it's only about a second. I think that was a decision he just had to make. He knew he could probably catch him out there as Bennett was on 2 tires, but had to make the decision at that point, and really is it may bite him, but it also, if this continues to go green, he may be able to come back down pit road, short pit again, and see if that works out for him.
I think his main concern was something similar to the point I made when he came down pit road. Just did not want to get caught up in the battle that was taking place at the time between the likes of Tommy Ryan and Michael Atkins and Dwayne Dunn. He just didn't want any part of that. So just decided to come down pit road, get in clean, fresh air, make sure that he wasn't in anybody's way, didn't have anybody racing around him, and make sure that that 12 car, or 12 truck rather, would be available for the finish of this race when it matters. And I think you're right, Austin Coop. If we get another long green flag run, then everything will sort of balance out as far as pit cycles go. And yes, Maul is probably going to lose time over the course of this run as it stays green, but if he can hang on and pit with everybody else, then might have a chance to sort of reset the cycles and get back up in the fight with everybody else.
Yeah, I think another thing to mention is that Aaron Bennett was one of the last drivers to actually pit. So when you think about that and the time, the difference in lap and the time he's gaining, it's a lot to Greg Maul, but he's also pulling away from those other drivers, if by the same amount, if not more. They pitted after Maul, so I don't know if he knows that, and he probably doesn't, but that's got to be something I'd say would be encouraging as a driver to know, hey, you know, I'm still faster than these guys behind me with fresher tires by maybe a lap or so, but it's still, you know, he's still running fast times, and so those two up towards the front doing a really good job and trying to do exactly what they think they need to do to get this win. That's kind of what it's looking like right now, James, is to get that win, because it's Bennett and Maul first and second, and then you go back to 7th place, which is Scott Simley. He's been in 7th all day. He has not moved from 7th place except for a few times to catch a few cars, but after pit cycles, he's back to 7th where he started, and I gotta believe that he's trying to get by these guys. He's gonna get on the inside of the one. I think he's just trying to prove me wrong here, James, as he's now in 6th.
Simley making the pass, and while that happened, almost a hairy moment for Aaron Bennett as Matt Mara was up into the outside retaining wall in turns 3 and 4, right in front of the leader, and Bennett had to dive towards the inside of the track to avoid him, which kind of led me to think about another point that I was going to make before the Simley battle, in that with Bennett and Maul, the 2 fastest trucks on track by a pretty significant margin, what happens over this stint might be more affected by lap traffic and the way they navigate around some of the cars towards the back end of this field than it will be the battle between just the 2 of them. So I think we need to pay attention to see what that looks like over the course of this run. As far as lap traffic goes, there's not really all that much. Mara should be cleared here by that 12 truck. Now he tried to come down and almost get in the 12 truck's way, but thought better of it, saw him coming. But after that, all you have to worry about is Jeff Ryan, and Jeff Ryan's got about a quarter of a turn, maybe a full turn just about away, and a room and space ahead of the 3 of Aaron Bennett. So actually closer now to a full straightaway just about. So not that much lap traffic at this moment, but something that I think we need to consider, because if this race goes green continuously, it will play into a factor, and Bennett will catch some of these battle packs that we talked about.
Yeah, and looking at Matt Mara, it looks like he's actually going to get in the wall again, but he got in the way of both of those drivers up front, and obviously nothing he's doing it intentionally, just trying to stay out on the track. Looks like there's a little bit of damage from the early accident, but with those 2 drivers having to maneuver around, it looks like Greg Maul actually lost a lot. He was 3/10 slower than Bennett that lap that they had to go around the 42, and they both went around him at a relatively same time, so Bennett was able to get around him a lot easier and managed to not lose as much time as Maul there. And every little maneuver starts to build up as a leader or as a driver behind to try and catch, well, you're basically your enemy, to try and get out there and go and get as much time on the track. Because now with these trucks being so spread out, only a real big mistake can really bring a caution out between these guys, or a failure on one of these drivers' parts or the truck's part or the Sims part, and that doesn't normally happen either. So you've got to think, now we've got to go. This is going to be the time where they're so spread out. Pit road's got to be so important. Each and every single lap, you got to go 100% and make your marks. And I bet you that all three of these drivers, and some of the other drivers in the field too, their hearts are going, 180, and they're super nervous too to get that win or to get that championship at the end of the day. But still about halfway, and I think the front two know it. And I think maybe a little bit of nerves are setting in for the 68, knowing that he's got a long ways to go to catch those guys.
And I think that lap traffic principle I spoke about also applies to some of these cars behind Mullen Company. We just saw a battle pack of cars all the way back to Jason Jacoby in 8th, just clear Mara as Mara got into the wall again. And there's actually some pretty good racing going on between those 5 cars. You've got Scott Simley, one of your championship contenders, in there. You've got Dwayne Dunn, Michael Atkins racing for the 4th position. Here goes Dunn now to the inside of Atkins. Will try and make it stick. Does he have enough rubber to get the proper drive off the corner? Not quite. But it's going to be a drag race down the front straightaway now as they touch it and they contact.
Turn! Oh, that's going to turn both of them in the inside wall. No caution just yet, but a big issue. There's the caution flag. Both trucks into the inside wall, and we have a caution dug a little too hard. I don't know which driver's fault that was. I think we could probably chip that up to a little bit of hard racing, but very close between both drivers, and I think they're both going to have a little bit of front end damage.
Yep, just getting really close. I don't know if the 39 thought he had a little bit more room, but I know that truck came up into Michael Atkins' truck. So that's where the contact started. Whether or not that was driver error or something on the truck mechanical, I couldn't tell, but that's where it started, and then they just went to the inside retaining wall from there. So just really hard racing, but we talked about it, and I think if you're Scott Sibley, you just avoided a bullet right there. That to some degree, this championship battle might not necessarily be decided by the championship contenders out racing one another, but by the championship contenders making sure that they avoid trouble from the other trucks in this field. And that was almost a hairy moment for one of our championship contenders right there.
Yeah, I think for the sake of those drivers, they both went the inside and did not come back to the top side. I think that that really was a kind of a, for the 60, it was just kind of a sigh. You're like, okay, cool, they're not coming back up the track. But right now we have pit stops, 12's in his box, 68's going to be in his box soon, and then the 3 also as well. All the other drivers look like they're coming down to pit road. Maybe one driver staying out to get a lap back. Looks like the 3 went through his stall just a little bit. Bennett has been so strong all day. He's been hard to beat. Hardly anyone's been able to catch him once he got around the 1 of Jacoby. We'll see which driver is able to get the lead here off of pit road. It's going to be a close one, but it looks like the 12 of Greg Mall. He will get the lead off of pit road in front of the 3 right there. And it looks like the 17 of Jamie Walker will be in 3rd for that race off pit road. It's getting really exciting right now.
We talk about this a lot on all of our broadcasts on LSRTV. The easiest way to lose a race is to beat yourself and make unforced errors, and that's exactly what Bennett did there. It wasn't a big one, and he was able to recover from it nicely, given that he overshot his pit ever so slightly, but it was enough to give Greg Mall the race lead. And now if you're Bennett, you're dealing with a whole different set of variables than you've had to deal with all race long. You've had the lead for the entire race, and now you'll have to work your way through traffic and through somewhat dirty air, and that might change the handling of that number 3 truck and a lot of other things that we just don't necessarily know. But already, just with that little slight mistake, Bennett's already put himself at a little bit of a disadvantage for this restart.
So Greg Mall lead his first laps under the caution flag, and as we coast under the caution flag, we do want to remind you that coverage of the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Get it today at joel-real-timing.com. For more information, you get the free version or upgrade to the Pro Pack. And you can get all that cool stuff at joelrealtiming.com. And we use it on the service as well, and it helps us get those timings just right on the ticker and in the sim. So Greg Mall out front, Aaron Bennett in the second position, Tommy Ryan third, Simley fourth, and Jamie Walker. That rounds up your top 5. I'd say it'd be another lap before we go green here, James.
Sounds about right to me. And now we'll get to see what kind of truck Greg Mall really has. We know it's a good one. He didn't even take a qualifying time and has managed to drive his way up through the field from 17th position where he started to the race lead. But we haven't seen that truck function in clean air all that much. And I think we should also note Scott Simley's only in the 4th spot. So he's managed to do a really nice job of driving up through this field as well. So all 3 of your championship contenders now reside in those top 4 positions. So we really do have the best of the best of this series up fighting at the front of the field.
Yeah, I think Tommy Ryan's looking to his right and in front of him thinking, how did I get stuck here? I got to fight these drivers going for a championship. I'm just trying to go for a win here. So that 6 is definitely in a pickle right now. But if you're the 6, you're probably going to go for it, knowing that the other drivers would do the same in their position. So the top 3 in the championship, only 3 right now, going for a championship right there. 1, 2, and 4 as they round turns 3 and 4 here under the pace car here, and we'll just see what Greg Mall does have. He's the dark horse in this championship, has not been at the top of those rounds, but we said when it counted, he was up there and making it work. We'll just see what that 12 car has. Like you said, James, Ryan Racing official pace car off, and the 12 gets a really good jump. And like you said, maybe the outside didn't get such a good one. The 3, he's got the 6 on the inside, and they're going to do battle in 1 and 2.
That 3 truck almost looks tight or something. Maybe like the set of tires didn't quite agree with him, but he's already back to 3rd. Tommy Ryan was able to get underneath him on the inside. Here comes Simley, now racing alongside Jamie Walker. 68 is outside of that 17 truck now, trying to hang on to the 4th position. Should be able to get the run as he comes off the corner, unless Walker's able to slide up ahead of him. But yellow flag out, wreck in turns 3 and 4 to bring us back under caution.
Ralph Vandervorst, Matt Mara, Michael Waters all involved in a big wreck off of turns number 3. I do believe the 39 at Dwayne Dunn was also involved. I don't know exactly how this happened. We're going to get a replay out just to find out exactly what happened, but it looks like the 66 got in the outside wall and it was on from there.
Yeah, 66 got in the wall, and then a whole bunch of drivers just made contact trying to avoid it. It looked like Mara tried to duck down to the inside, but ducked down too far and found the right side of that 39 truck of Dwayne Dunn, and Michael Waters just kind of stuck himself and tried to stay out of the way as best he could once he wrecked. But for him and for Ralph Vandervorst, just a lot of problems. And that corner entry is the one sort of spot on track where things tend to get a little bit tricky, I think, and corner exit as well. But just a really, really tricky situation and not enough room for those drivers to make it away.
Well, while we are under the pace car, we'll take a quick moment to take a breath and get back to the racing action once this caution flag is away. We'll be back here on the other side here on LSRTV. You're not gonna want to miss a moment of it. Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. While Jamie Walker leads the field, looks like all three of our championship drivers decided to come down pit road for service on their machines. It appears to be a strategy to make it a one-stop or two-stop race here to the end, but the drivers up front are going to have none of it, and Jamie Walker will lead these guys to the green flag as opposed to the 12 of Greg Ball. So a little bit of strategy probably going into this one, and we will see how this one plays out. A little bit of change, and Jamie Walker, he will get the green flag for another restart on the night on lap 66, and they do battle behind him, and looks like the 68, Scott Simley, he is the front-running championship driver for the first time tonight, sitting in that 6th position, trying to get the inside run on the 98 of Stephen Herring coming out of 2.
Just to explain, we are thinking up here in the booth that the 3 and the 12 might be able to make this race to the end on 2 pit stops. The fuel run is about 33 to 35 laps here, depending on how you run it over the course of a green flag run. And if you multiply that by 2, that would put us right in the window of the end of this race. So it's definitely possible. I think all we can do is keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, here comes Jason Jacoby. Got a good run out of turn 2, coming underneath the 17 of Jamie Walker, trying to find the race lead. Gets a really good drive into the corner. Jacoby back to the point here at Homestead, Miami.
But not without a crossover from the 17 of Jamie Walker. This is great action coming out of turns number 4, and he's going to get the inside, but it appears that Jacoby is not going to be tricked by a crossover move, but he's still there on the inside. He's still making it work. That 17 to 1 I've done battle a lot of times during the seasons. There are all 30 races of the season, and another race for those guys to do 1-2. I'm not surprised by those two fighting for a position, but it looks like the 17 dug a little too hard, maybe got those tires a little hard and heated up. It looks like he's still fighting the 11 on the outside. What a close battle. We saw the 11 of Shane Hawthorne have an issue earlier on the race. He's recovered quite nicely and is in that 3rd position right there on the inside. Saw him come down pit road and have to come down again as he missed that access road. So definitely doing a good job making sure that that truck gets back into the thick of it. And then look at Scott Simley. He's in his highest position he's been all day, in that 4th position when you don't count those pit stops. So the 4, Scott Simley, he is leading all those championship drivers at this moment.
Simley ahead of all the championship drivers, and Taylor Bennett, or Aaron Bennett rather, doing a nice job coming back through the field here. But I think, again, it almost feels like a strategy play and trying to stay out of the traffic ahead of them, because you look all the way from Robert Gillenwater in 10th up to about the lead, really. Everybody here is just within a 2-second span, so not really all that much room if anything goes wrong. And if you're the 3 or the 12, I think you're relieved that you're not right in the middle of this. But if you're Simley, you're trying to take advantage of this as best you can and make your way towards the front. He's doing just that now. Looks to the inside of the 11 of Shane Hawthorne as they come into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, look at that battle right there for 3rd, and we saw Hawthorne have struggles earlier, but he's still fighting strong on the outside. Their heads up on the back straightaway, and it looks like the 68 is going to have the advantage going into the corner. It looks like the 11 pulled him just a little bit down the straightaway. We'll see. The turns 4 is typically what makes or breaks your run down the front straightaway in this one. The turns 2 is quite different from turns 4. You got to really set yourself up for it. Looks like the 68 did just that. Still on the inside and still fighting the 11 on the outside. You can really work both lines fairly well here, James, as we talked about pre-race, and seems like the 68 was really able to work that inside line.
68 gets it done. Now we'll try and go hunt down the 17 of Jamie Walker. Try and go get the 2nd position, but it's a little bit of a gap now. That side-by-side racing cost him about 7/10 of a second here as we look at timing and scoring. So we'll have to find a way to run Walker down, and then you've got Jacoby there, who hasn't really been able to get away from the 17. So all sorts of interesting variables in play. Meanwhile, if you're wondering about Aaron Bennett and about Greg Mall, they currently sit in 12th and 15th, and they're about 5 seconds back of all this.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that they're trying something, trying to save fuel. You know, both these drivers can go a lot faster, a lot harder than they are now. They do have a couple other drivers in between them. Looks like Scott Formosa is going to duck down to the inside and let Greg Mall go by. He gives his hand out the window and says thank you to the 80 over the radio, really. And now he's going to charge on the 3 truck right there. We could tell you that this might be for the championship, but as they go side by side on the back, and the 3's is going to let him go. So the 3's still on a separate strategy right now. So whatever these two are doing, I think it's definitely to try and take out one stop. I think that's obvious at this point, but it looks like the 12 has made up a little bit more, and he decides it's go time, which means it's time to go for that 12 truck at this point, to get by the 3 and just kind of stay there. He may not even go harder, and all he knows is he's got to pass the 3 and the 68's all the way towards the front, 6 seconds ahead, so may not have to push as hard right now.
You can already tell that those lap times are increasing significantly compared to the drivers at the front of the field. Now back 6 seconds of race leader Jason Jacoby. So you're right, Coop. Both Mall and Bennett are definitely trying to save fuel at this point. It's just a matter of whether or not it works, as Robert Gillenwater finds the wall towards the back of the field in turns 1 and 2. Will come down right in front of the 12 machine, and Mall had a little bit of a moment, but was able to get underneath him pretty cleanly. But significant damage to the right side of that number 4 truck. He rolls through 3 and 4, and we'll just see how long he stays out, or whether or not the damage is enough to force that JDRF car to pit road.
And as Robert Gillenwater falls to the 10th place, we did cross halfway about 10 laps ago, so we'll go through that iRacing Midway Race Break presented by iRacing. Developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service, iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. In the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, Cars Tour, and more. Jason Jacoby currently leads over Jamie Walker by a slim 10th lead, and you have to go 5 to 6 tenths back to Scott Simley. He's first in this championship battle, so we're definitely going to be watching him and the other 2 drivers. Then Tommy Ryan, he's in 4th. Shane Hoffner, 5th. Michael Atkins Jr. is in the 6th position right now. Randy Yoakum has rallied to 7th. Stephen Herring is in 8th. And Chris Gibeau, 9th, with Michael Warren. He's in 10th.
11th belongs to the 12 of Greg Mall. Robert Gillenwater, after that little incident in the wall, currently sits in the 12th position. 13th is where you will find Aaron Bennett, that 3 truck that was so dominant in the first half of this race, now in a fuel conservation mode. Scott Formosa currently runs in the 14th position, and the last car on the lead lap is the number 39 of Dwayne Dunn. 1 lap down is the 42 of Matt Mora in 16th. 17th is Jeff Ryan, 4 laps down. 18th now. Drivers out of the race as we go through the back of this field. In the final 5 cars, it's Michael Waters, Ralph Vandervorst, Randy Tesser, Justin Michael, and Steve Price Jr. running 18th through 22nd in that order.
And that's been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. For a limited time, you can now visit iRacing.com/World of Outlaws to take advantage of the exclusive promo codes that are going on right now, and you can get yourself on iRacing with a 1-year membership for half off, or simply try it with a 3-month membership for less than $5. Again, that's iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. And also, for current members, it's 25% off right now, James. So I think for a $111 subscription, I think it's down to around $80.
Good way to save money to get yourself on the sim, and who knows, maybe you'll see one of these drivers here from this series out in a truck race you participate in. Maybe one of us from LSRTV. I know we're on the sim a good amount running in races, so certainly a chance to mix it up there. And if you go ahead and sign up for the service, you can get in and race against all of your favorite drivers from across the sim. Pretty neat deal.
Yeah, I think I've raced with AJ Allmendinger and Ty Majeski at points, and those are guys who are on the real circuit. So definitely really cool to be a part of, as those real life drivers also drive in iRacing. Looks like the battle's up towards the front of the field, though. Look at Tommy Ryan. He looks like he may have just got by. Yes, he did. Just snuck by the 17 at Jamie Walker right now, and what an incredible pass that was. It looks like that 6 is on different tires. He's so fast right now, and he's absolutely coming up to the field right on the 68's heels.
Here comes Tommy Ryan, pretty quick Northern Tool equipment machine that he's got. That Silverado's got some pace. Simley's got some pace in the Tundra as well, but Jacoby is the one coming off the front of this field to the tune of about half a second. So pretty quick laps here coming from the one machine, and maybe no surprise just with his number taken into consideration that the one machine is the one leading this race.
Yeah, and he was the pole sitter too, so something you gotta expect from Jacoby right now. He was dominant earlier on, took a strategy to see what those no tire strategy would do, and he figured out very quickly that he could hold on, but only for so long as that two tire strategy started to work in, which kind of shows you that those right side tires get used a lot more than those left side tires, and we might see another 2-tire strategy happen later on in this race, and Jacoby might be that driver to do it. We've seen him do it in past races. We've seen the 12 of Greg Mall do it a lot throughout the season, and who knows, maybe somebody we don't expect to take 2 tires might just throw the kitchen sink at it and say, you know what, we've got to try it for the championship. So definitely got to look right there at all those things, and also go look at that 12 car. He's also passing more drivers. He just got around 11 of Shane Hawther.
Important to note at this point that it appears Maul and Bennett are running under 2 different strategies. Maul, as you noted earlier, is beginning to make his way back towards the front of the field, and I don't know if abandon the fuel saving strategy is quite the right word, but he's definitely running at pace and definitely running faster than that 3 truck, and I have to believe that the 3 truck, unless somehow that thing has magically lost some speed, is still in fuel conservation mode, thinking this race might go to the end under green conditions, and who knows, maybe that plays out well for him if he can come down and make it a one-stop race from here on out. And if we go green the rest of the way, I think this absolutely plays in Aaron Bennett's favor.
Yeah, they've got to make it at least to lap 95, I'd say, in order to make it all the rest of the way. They've got to go. That makes him go, I think, 39 laps. I think that's just about the edge of what you can go on these new on this limited fuel cell. It's kind of a stretch if you can save about a lap of fuel here. It would put him on the same strategy as Greg Mall, because Greg Mall pitted 1 lap after Aaron Bennett. Bennett came in the first lap it was open, and then Mall came in shortly after. So that is why I believe the 12 is able to really run it in there a lot harder and a lot more, just run a lot faster at this point. He doesn't have to go as much on the fuel, and he's actually catching these drivers. He's catching the 5 right now. He's on the inside right there. He just passed, I believe it was the 98 is the lap before, so he is really starting to get some more, some positions, and with as much as he fell back and waited, he's coming up to the field really fast. So I don't know if it's a 100% fuel, whether it was just waiting for those tires to hit that optimal mark to come to the field, because he's 4 seconds back, but still passing a lot of drivers right now.
Really starting to pick it up is that 12 machine, but he's still got a ways to go. So has to find a way around Michael Atkins, who is the next car in line for the 12 machine, and then Randy Yoakum, who's maybe 1 or 2 car lengths ahead of him. So a little bit of picking through the field that we're going to see Greg Mall here try and undertake a little bit, and the hope for him is that he doesn't get caught up behind these drivers too much. Didn't quite get the best entry into the corner there, and that definitely hurt the 12 through 1 and 2 and now down the back. So he'll look and try and find a line around this 44 truck, but it isn't quite happening yet.
Yeah, and another battle happening on the track is for the lead. Looks like Scott Simley is getting very, very close to Jason Jacoby right now, and we talk about getting that lead and how it's so important every other week of this season, because you get bonus points, but you don't get bonus points in this race. So leading a lap doesn't matter. And even if he did, it would just put him on the same page as everyone else, because both the number 3 and the 12 have led, and he's on the inside passing the number 1 of Jason Jacoby right now. They're going to be side by side going across the start finish line. Be a perfect photo finish right there, because I actually don't know which one of them crossed the start finish line first. It looks like it was Jacoby still by 4/1000th of a second. But an amazing photo finish. But nonetheless, Scott Simley still trying to make the inside work, and it's still side by side. Looks like he actually lost a little bit on the corner, and Jacoby's going to have the run down the back. That 68 really wants that top position right now.
Trying to go grab that first spot, and I think more importantly, trying to go grab that first spot before these drivers have to come down pit road. That's the key, I think, if you're Simley. But getting a little bit of a help now from the 6 and Tommy Ryan, who shoves him through to the corner, and it's almost too much. They nearly make contact there, but Simley was able to check it up, gather it back up, and get a good run off the back straightaway. But Ryan's still able to draft off the rear bumper of that 68 truck and get a decent run. So I have a feeling we might see that again as they come down the front straightaway this time by.
To show you how equal those lanes are for the drivers, 2 laps ago they were 4/1000ths of a second apart from each other. The lap before, they were 3/1000ths of each other. In this lap, 1/1000th of a second between each other coming to the line. This is how equal both lanes are. A single mistake can really mess this up. They're still side by side, but under a 100th each and every lap. And watch the 6. Oh, it looks like the 1's going to come down pit road, so that's going to end that battle. It probably could have gone on for a lot longer, but looks like the 1's going to duck down for pit service. And Scott Simley, he will lead for the first time tonight. He led a couple laps, but he actually has the lead for sure over the 6 of Tommy Ryan. But even the 6 is still breathing down the neck of the 68 right now. But this may start all those pit cycles.
Could start all the pit cycles. Also, by the way, after the 6 and the 68 and then Jamie Walker, guess who's up in 4th position? The 12 of Greg Mall. So another run through the field. I have a feeling that if we're going to award the pass most cars in tonight's race award at the end of this, it will probably be Greg Mall no matter what at this point, because that's the second time he's found a way to drive up through the majority of this field. So Mall doing a lot of work now, trying to make his way back towards the front of this field, and I think cycle himself back towards the regular pit strategy. We'll just have to see what happens here.
Yes, thinking statistically, 12 had the least percentage chance of winning. I don't actually have like a number crunch or anything for the 12, but he had the least top 5s, the least top 10s coming into this championship race. Looks like the 17 of Jamie Walker is also going to come down pit road as well. But his chances to win against the other ones, the odds really, were kind of against the 12. They were more for the 68, who is in the lead right now. And so you've got to think that the statistics don't matter. You know, at this point, a lot of strategy can really change, and also just the will to drive the car is going to be out there too. But I think the 17's out of fuel, James. That's what you're saying.
I don't quite know what happened exactly to the 17, but he was very, very slow coming out of turn 2, and I hear no engine as he comes down pit road. So I think there is a decent chance that he ran that thing completely dry on that green flag run and is now coming down pit road for service. So that'll be some lost time that Jamie Walker has to make up. Meanwhile, Mall is back up in the 3rd position, and it's about a straightaway back of Tommy Ryan and Scott Simley for the race lead, but he's coming back into the picture with each passing lap that we run. Meanwhile, Aaron Bennett is still hanging back there at about the 6.5, 7 second interval back in the 6th position. So I still think he's trying to save a little bit. It could be very, very interesting if this really does hold out and go green the rest of the way, how these strategies shape out.
Looks like the 6 of Tommy Ryan, he's going to come down pit road this time. So does the 68 of Scott Simley. So these drivers coming down pit road, making their entrance to the access road very clean and very effective and efficient. But what does that do? That gives the lead back to the 12 of Greg Mall. And James, I have to say, with every passing lap, this looks like this race is going into the 12's favor more than any of the other championship drivers right now. And where they stand, Aaron Bennett actually was scored second that time at 3.5 seconds back. And when does Greg Mall come in? When does Aaron Bennett come in? And think this is going to be the last stop for the night. And it actually looks like Greg Maul's going to come in right now. And so that answers that question. And Aaron Bennett, he will actually stay out as opposed to the 12. He's pitted 1 lap earlier than the 12 and was saving fuel. So perhaps we're going to see something from this 3 that we are not expecting. But the 12 comes down pit road, gives lead to the 3 once again.
I think that gives clarity here to what should happen. Maul will run a regular strategy for this final stint. Bennett will now have the responsibility to try and run the wheels off that 3 truck and come from the back to catch both Maul and Scott Simley in the 68 from here on out, because he will have the freshest tires and will have pitted last of that bunch. So watch that 3 truck. His battle through the field should decide this championship.
Yeah, and I think 3 different strategies. I don't think you can ask for a better picture when you're coming to this track with almost 30 laps to go, and any mistake, any issue can break a championship right now. Any break of focus too. And as Aaron Bennett comes from the very back to the very front of pit road, he's got to be thinking to himself not to mess up his pit box. He gets in there nice and clean, a little sluggish actually, but I'd say he'd rather take that than take the opposite of what he had earlier. Takes 2 tires. That is something to remember. The 3 takes 2 tires and will come out, and he's gonna loop it around in the infield. He's gonna loop it around, and he's gonna be into the grass or into the sand right there. And that's going to be a lot of time missed right there, James. That might be the championship for the 3.
Disaster for Aaron Bennett, and we saw it here. Something about our LSRTV series, but we saw it here in the RSR Icebreaker series. Pit road issues for Jeff Ward cost him a fight and a chance at the championship on the last pit stop, and here it's the same story all over again. Aaron Bennett with issues coming out of pit road, and that might have just cost the 3 a shot at the championship as well.
Oh my goodness. I think what the 3 is just, it's one of those things where you're just so focused on other things that's the last thing you think about coming out of pit road is your throttle control and your will to just be easy around that access road. He was easy to his pit box because he knew he made a mistake earlier, and now came out of pit road and just a small error, and he tried everything he could to get it back, and it was just a little too late. He's got his work cut out for him, and I'd say that might be his championship, but anything can happen in these races. They'll have 30 laps to go now.
He'll need a yellow. I think there's absolutely no doubt that he'll need a yellow to try and get this field bunched back up together just so he can make up the gap, because I don't think with the way Greg Maul and Scott Simley have been running that you're making up the 8 seconds that he has to catch Greg Maul, and then the 5 seconds on top of that he has to run to go catch Scott Simley. So big trouble there for the 3. I think you're right. That's effectively taking him out of championship contention. And now what we have to watch is the way Greg Maul comes through this field, because he's now the one on the fresher tires, but doesn't have the track position that Simley has. So it will be upon him here in the last 28 laps to run down Scott Simley and go chase the championship.
Defending series champion versus the dark horse is what it's looking at right now, and we can still keep the 3 in the picture. It just looks a little gloomy for him right now unless something happens, like you said, a caution. And every lap Greg Maul does take a little by little off the 68 right there. And does he have enough time? I think he does. When you get into that 68 of Scott Simley, that is going to be the hardest either of those drivers have raced and tried to pass each other or defend each other. It's going to be one of those impending things that's going to happen, as he's taking about 3/10 off the leader of Jason Jacoby, and Scott Simley is taking only about a half a tenth to a tenth each lap. So it's going to be inevitable, I think, each time he's going to have it. So I just think that it's really going to be a waiting game for those 2. And the 12s just really got to lay it on right now.
Yep, we know the drill. I think we've seen this a few times before. I think of probably the best example with about this many laps left is Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart back in 2011 in the Cup Series, where it was Carl's job to try and run down that 14 truck. He was unsuccessful, and Greg Maul finds himself in the same position that Edwards was in. But does history repeat itself, or Can Maul run down Simley and go get the championship? Took off about another half a second off Jacoby's lead. Simley actually lost a little bit of time, so it's now about a 3-second gap. And if you're Greg Maul, you can see Scott Simley here. There's only one truck in between the two trucks, and that's the 6 of Tommy Ryan. So Greg Maul has a pretty clear visual to the rear bumper of that number 68 truck. It's just a matter of executing and making it happen.
Yeah, and speaking of that 6 truck, Tommy Ryan is cutting out in the middle of the corner as possible to save fuel. Clutching in that motor is letting it come down and cool off, but more importantly, to save fuel. If it's not being used, it doesn't use any fuel, so definitely maybe trying to do that in the corners. But as we take a little bit of a moment to breathe, VNC Lawn and Landscaping Service is the series sponsor, and they are based in Frankfort, Delaware. Check out VNC for all of your landscaping needs, including turf care, mulch and snow removal, and more. Professional license and insured. Contact Aaron Bennett, yes, the driver Aaron Bennett, at BNC_lawn_and_landscaping at yahoo.com for more information. That is the series sponsor. It's also the race sponsor for tonight, so big shout out to those guys for every week being on the series, and I think they've done a couple races this season, so big shout out to them and for basically making everything tonight happen.
Won't necessarily be the finish that they wanted with Bennett. Not really in the championship picture now after that mistake. Still would be back in it if they get a yellow, but not seeing a yellow come out anytime yet. It'll be something random that happens on track because we don't really have too many battles and packs of cars racing tightly with one another to cause something like that. In the meantime, though, the battle for the championship. Scott Simley now down to about a 2-second lead to Greg Maul. Simley in second, Maul in fourth, still trying to run down Jason Jacoby, who's done a solid job of holding on to a 3-second gap at the front of the field over these last 5 to 10 laps. But for the intents and purposes of our championship fight, what you need to know is that the 12 truck is coming.
Yeah, just little by little, just taking small chunks each time, about 2/10 off the lead. But the lead's not the one that's important. It's how much he's getting on Scott Simley, which is quite a bit. It's about the same, but he only has 2 seconds to make up between himself and Scott Simley. And I just have to wonder if Scott Simley is saving anything at all, or whether he's going full power, because if he's saving at least a little bit, that means he'll have something to fight against the 12 of Greg Maul. And it looks like we do have a blown motor on the inside of the track. I am unsure of who that is. Looks like it's going to be the 42 of Matt Mara. No caution will be out as he's on the access road. But Greg Maul is going to start catching Tommy Ryan here out of turn number 2 as well. He'll be in his draft, and we mentioned that the number 6 was saving just a little bit in those corners. I'm sure he still is. And with that, it might be an easy work for the 12. I think that what 68 Scott Simley is going to be hoping for is that he makes it hard for him to pass, and only time will tell. He's getting really close to him now.
What kind of fight does that 6 truck put up against the 12 truck? That's everything right now. That's all we really need to watch and care about, because Jacoby's still out front to the tune of a 2.8 second lead. So he's been running pretty comfortably out there. Doesn't really have to worry about any sort of lap traffic either. There's not any car near him on the track. Next car in front of Jason Jacoby is Jamie Walker, and Jamie Walker is about halfway across the track from Jacoby. So lap traffic should not play any sort of factor into this. This is purely about the 68 and the 6 and the 12 in the championship picture at this point.
Yeah, if you're Jason Jacoby, you just want that win. And he got his first and only win on the season all the way back in Bristol, or not Bristol, Darlington, 2 weeks before the championship actually started. He was doing part-time at that time and just could not get the championship. And I think for him, he just wants another win for that number 1 machine, and next season a proud guy. I'm starting to look at the difference in time between the 12 and the 68, and I'd say that maybe the 68 is starting to put a little on right now. It's not coming down, it's quick right now, and with the waning laps here, it's about 15 to go here. It's getting pretty close between the fact that the 12 is maybe not going to catch the 68. I'd say that we can see them in the same shot right now. He's still catching him lap by lap. But if he doesn't hit his marks every single lap, I'm not sure that the 12 is going to be able to catch Scott Simley at this point.
Unless Simley makes a mistake the same way we saw Taylor Bennett and Aaron Bennett. Apologies, Mr. Bennett, for me botching your name twice in one night, but a Aaron Bennett-esque mistake would be the one thing that would change everything in all this. And that's what you have to watch out for now, because I think you're right. We're getting close to the point, and that gap's not coming down enough for Greg Mall. He's got to find a little bit more speed in that number 12 truck. Simply just has to make sure that he runs a handful of clean laps here, and the title is his.
Yeah, and you also got to think about that truck of Tommy Ryan. Does he make a difference? We talked about the drivers making it their own. You've also got to think about the drivers that are not in the championship affecting this championship with the cautions and with the way it ran. You know, without those drivers, it'd be a green flag. Well, maybe it would be a green flag race to the end. We really don't know with those with the drivers, only 3 of them being on the track, but the race is completely different because they're still a part of this race. It's a race with a championship on the line with only 3 drivers. So they are still racing for a position as if it was any other race. Those 3 drivers, however, are driving for the championship. And, you know, he's 1.3 seconds back. It is his closest gap that he's been able to make, but he's got 13 laps when he crosses the stripe to make it there. And he still is catching him about a 10th per lap. If you make that, you know, equal, if you chop that up into a nice mathematical problem, at a 10th per lap, he will get there mathematically. He's just got to make sure it happens. And whether you get to a person and you pass him, as we've seen in many short track races past, is a completely different story, James.
To finish off the math that you didn't quite complete there in your sentence, he would catch him on lap 133, and then there is the matter of passing him. So yes, everybody on pins and needles here, because this could be very, very, very interesting as they work lap 122.
Yeah, it looks like they both cut down the same lap, and it does appear that he's getting that 10th every time, just not quite a 10th. And I think he's just sliding just a little bit more off, and I think Scott Simley has the advantage here at this point. We can still see them in the same picture, and you can see that each lap that lead does get smaller. And I just cannot help but think about the 6 truck as well, being just in the middle of things right here. Obviously, the 6 was pushing the 12 earlier, but I'd say if the 12 catches him, I'm unsure what that 6 will do, whether he'll fight him or try and fend him off. It's really too tough to say, but that lap, Greg Mall and Scott Simley ran almost identical times, so Scott Simley, he's still fighting hard and running almost actually a faster lap than him. Just the laps waning down. It's going to be 10 laps to go at the stripe this time by, and not to mention 1.4 seconds to the lead as it has dropped significantly.
Watching the intervals as they come past this time by, it's 1.3 to 2.4, so 1.1 seconds with 9 laps to go. Greg Mall needs more. He has to find a way to gain more time on Simley than he has now. Makes me wonder, Coop, if you were right about Simley saving just enough for the end of this so that he can pick up his times if he need to and hold off Mall for the championship.
Yeah, it looks like 9 laps to go up the stripe, and I say he also maybe wants that win too. He just knocked off 3/10 off of Jason Jacoby, and we've seen, I think, almost every single chase battle or F battle in LSRTV history come down to that driver having to win the race in most cases. So that might be waning or looming, I should say, on Scott Simley's mind, that he may try and actually want to win the race and get both worlds. He might try and have his cake and eat it too. Still getting more time, and Greg Mall is not getting the times he needs right now, and he got 5/10 on the leader, but so did Scott Simley. He's only half a tenth or half a second off that lead. Getting really close here. Not that many laps left to go as they corner number 2.
1 second between Simley and Maul, but at the rate Maul has been closing, it's still not enough. But Jacoby might be under fire here within a few laps because Simley's coming. He's found a way to make that car work. I think especially off of turn 4, has changed his line and run a little bit more towards the wall than he has in past laps, and it's working. 2/10 off the lead that last time by, so it's now a 3/10 lead for the 68 of Scott Simley. Simley is coming to try and win race and title all in one fell swoop.
The only thing I can think of that could go bad is if Jacoby goes too hard. He's going to come down pit road. Jason Jacoby gives up the lead, cannot make it on fuel. That gives the lead to the 68 of Scott Simley. What an unprecedented turn of events here. Is lap 128 is what we're on right now, and I was not expecting that to happen at all, James. And if the 68 had his way, he would love for that to happen, and it's exactly what did. 1 second back to Greg Maul, and Scott Simley, he can go full power from now on and not have to worry about fighting for a lead to win the race. What a turn of events.
Well, I think Jacoby didn't come down with everybody on that last caution, was just hoping that he might get something to save him. Probably knew in his head that he didn't have the fuel to make it to the end in this case. And now this is Scott Simley's championships to lose very, very firmly.
Has to go 4 more laps when he crosses the stripe next time by. And each lap, he knows he's in that lead, cannot have any issues. No lap traffic is in front of him. In fact, the one in front of him is Jacoby, and I'm sure he came down and got 2 tires, or maybe just got fuel, but nonetheless, he's still quite a ways from him. Every single lap matters. 4 laps to go in each corner. That 6 is also coming back a little bit. The 12's coming back a little bit. They're both catching him just a little bit. Maybe a little bit of reserve is going on for that 68, just making sure he gets everything just right. James, I'd say in this situation, your nerves are just absolutely through the roof. When you're leading the race, you know you're in the position to win the championship right now, and it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be the 68 to lose, like you said, but he still has to make a couple more laps.
His to lose, but we remember he won the championship last year, so of the drivers in this field, he and Jamie Walker are the only ones that have the experience of winning the title. So I think being able to lean on that is going to help if you're the 68 here, and he's got this pretty much all set if he doesn't make a mistake. It's 9/10 back to Greg Maul, and only 2 laps here when they come across the stripe. So nothing doing here from all. It's all Scott Simley as he comes across the line to get the 2 to go.
Popsicle sticks in the air for the 68, but not by a large margin. Looks like the 6 of Tommy Ryan, he was saving earlier. Looks like he's going to try and go for the win as well. I know the championship picture is still there. The 68 knows that that is a much bigger picture to look at, but does that win matter that much to the 68 as well? The 6 is really going for it. When we come off corner number 4, we will have 1 lap to go.
Simley leading. Ryan didn't get the greatest of runs out of turn 4, and I think lost a little bit of time here, but he's going to drive it deep into 1 and 2. Simley with the blocking lane, so Ryan's not really going to be able to get a good run. He has to slide up the track, so Simley should be safe into 3. It's just all dependent on what kind of run Ryan gets into turn 3 as to whether or not Simley comes out of here with a victory in the title.
Scott Simley won round 12, 9, and 6, and he is going to come off turns number 4, win the race, and win the championship. The number 68 goes back-to-back, and we'll get the 2nd championship for the B&C Lawn and Landscaping Series. New, or not new, returning champion, 68 of Scott Simley.
Impressive drive, and I think we thought for all of the strategy that Greg Maul and Aaron Bennett tried to play in this race, it was staying on the standard pit strategy that got Scott Simley the championship and the race victory. So maybe a matter of not overthinking it that's won Scott Simley this title tonight, but we had Simley, Maul, and Bennett finish in 3 of the top 4 spots, so I don't think there can be too much doubt that the championship contenders were some of the strongest trucks here tonight.
Yeah, and the 68 of Scott Simley, think played it perfectly. Just waited for an opportunity to pounce, waited for an opportunity to do something. And I think he just tried what he thought was going to be the most natural way to win the race. Greg Mall and Aaron Bennett, they tried to do a little bit of strategy by coming down pit road during that caution, tried to get that extra lap of those extra laps of fuel. They did have the fuel to make it, but so did the 68, and he had the track position. That was the difference right there, was Scott Simley staying out on old tires and that amount of fuel. I think definitely a big showing that those tires could make it all the way, and I think a big impressive run for the 68. Back-to-back championships shows a lot.
You learn a lot, I think, in running that many races and being that consistently quick, which is what we've seen from Scott Simley. We saw it all last year. We've seen it for the most part all of this year as well. And not too hard to kind of make things translate and work out the way you need it to go get a championship if you're that 68 truck. Pretty easy to lean on what you know and just do what works for you and make it happen. And that's exactly what he's done. And here he is now, your 2017 champion.
Scott Simley gets his second win of the season and his second championship for the BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series, and in incredible fashion. Well, while we let him celebrate for just a little bit longer and while we take our breath, get it back, we will send it to commercial break. We'll go through the full field rundown and get to talk to your championship and race winner along with the other two drivers, and we'll talk to Tommy Ryan, who finished in second place. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series finale and conclusion. Scott Simley, he sealed the deal, won the race, and won the championship in fantastic fashion. We'll talk to him in just a little bit, and we'll go through your full field rundown. Scott Simley gets the victory, over Tommy Ryan by 3/10. Greg Mall finishes third and second in the championship. We'll talk to him in a bit. And Aaron Bennett still salvages a fourth position, but will finish third in the championship. Fifth will finish Chris Gaboo. Scott Formosa will finish in the sixth position. Randy Yoakum finishes seventh. Jason Jacoby, he will finish the last driver on the lead lap in eighth. Robert Gillenwater and Jamie Walker will finish out the ninth and 10th position.
Michael Warren finished in the 11th spot this evening. Shane Hawthorne was 12th when it was all said and done. Michael Atkins Jr. finished in 13th. 14th was the 39 of Dwayne Dunn. Jeff Ryan battled back from an early caution and damage very, very, very early on to finish in the 15th position. Stephen Herring finished in the 16th spot. Matt Mara finished 17th. 18th was Michael Waters. 19th, Ralph Vanderhorst. 20th, Randy Tesser, Justin Michael, and Steve Price Jr. rounded out the finishing order tonight.
That's your 22 car field, and we'll go to Victory Lane. A very, very special championship for the number 68 of Scott Simley. What a good job you did today, and fought off two hard chargers all day, the 3 and the 12 of Greg Mall and Aaron Bennett. Tell us how you did it, and how does it feel to be a two-time champion of this series?
Oh, it feels good. Wow, what a race. I'm sweating. A lot of fun. I think it was whatever that last caution. Let's see. Trying to think back here now, but when we pitted before we went green on those last runs, it was really close on fuel, and I knew Aaron and Greg seemed faster than me, so I thought, I think I can make it, plus I'll get the track position. So that's what I went for, and I had 0.17 left in the tank.
Oh, wow. You were really saving. We were curious about which drivers were saving, which drivers were going, and we knew that Greg Ball had the freshest tires, but when it actually came down to the end, it seemed that you had saved not only fuel, but tires, because during the last 10 laps, you really put on the wick and were able to really start to step it up and expand that gap. And in fact, between you two, it got less than a second, but whenever it all finished out, you were 1.4 seconds in front of him there towards the end. How much were you saving on that last run?
Yeah, I was kind of doing, obviously it was really close on making it, and I knew Greg, having the lead I knew Greg was going to have to run hard, so I knew he was going to end up probably burning his stuff up a little more than he wanted to. So I was watching his time and making sure I had enough. And when it kind of flattened out and I thought, all right, I know I'm good to make it, that's when I thought I got to keep this second gap so he doesn't get close enough to me. So, yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and talk about your consistency through the championship rounds. You won every single round, including the championship round. And I think for you, you'd have it no other way to win the round of 12, 9, 6, and then 3 to finish it off in fantastic fashion. I think for you to sweep it, that's a pretty cool feeling to have.
Yeah, it is. I thought about that too, getting close to the end. I thought, same thing last year. Didn't have to win, but needed to be ahead of the guys and to be able to finish first in the last race of the last 2 seasons and winning it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, before we let you go, celebrate, have a little bit of fun tonight. Scott, who makes it happen for you on that 68 championship machine tonight?
Hippie's Paint Shop, my teammate Bobby Terrell, a family out there watching, and you guys again. Again, you do an awesome job. Thanks for broadcasting, and looking for some time off here for the summer. And then start back up in October. So it's going to be good to have a little break here and gear back up, but it feels pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say it's well deserved. But before we let you go, actually, there's a little bit of a tradition we've been doing a little bit lately for the championship drivers. What's your favorite sandwich?
The hook and ladder.
The hook and ladder. All right, we'll have to remember that one. I think that's a unique one on the list. So thanks, Scott, and we'll let you go here.
All right, thanks.
All right, that's the number 68 of Scott Simley. And we're going to go to the next driver, Greg Mall, who finishes second here tonight, and second on the points, third tonight. And down with him is Greg Mall.
James Pike here down on pit road with third place in this race, runner-up in the championship, Greg Mall. And Greg, we'll start, I think, chronologically is the best way to do it, because this race had so many complex intricacies that unfolded over the course of the evening. But that first run, to kind of run up through the field, not taking a qualifying time, I take it you felt like you had a good setup. And was that sort of a test move on your part to try and see what kind of car or truck you had, or was it just kind of a circumstantial thing?
I think I was trying to attempt making a time on both my attempts there, James, and it just didn't quite work out. So bad circumstance there, but had to start in the back, and like you said, and was able to work our way up front. And yeah, like you said, we were able to make our way up near towards the front there without too much trouble early on. Then we had a string of cautions there, and then at last 70 laps or something like that towards the finish was a lot of fun. That was a lot of strategy involved there, and Simley, he played it perfectly, man. I don't know if I could have done anything better.
Let's talk about that strategy for a moment, because we noticed it up here in the booth that both you and Aaron Bennett came down pit road and went towards the back of the field, and it looked like both of you were saving fuel up until a point, and then you decided to go and start running back towards the front. When I guess, did you kind of figure out in your head that Scott might have the better hand on you at that point? You had to go try and run him down and make it up as best you could?
Well, I think we obviously wanted to try and save as much fuel as we could to at least get ourselves to be within a safe window. Should it have decided to go on green all the way like it did, but as that late part of the first run on that restart and getting started there on the second stint, for some reason, I think the fuel mileage actually was a little bit better than what I was initially anticipating. So I don't know if that would have necessarily helped Scott as far as the track rubbering up and losing a little bit of speed there. But yeah, it definitely panned out not quite as I expected, but yeah, we still had a little bit left in the tank to get finished.
And then those last 15, 20 laps, you tried to run down Scott, and it looked like you were giving it everything, but I guess it's just a matter of pace or tires or something going away on your truck, or was there anything that we might not have considered, or was that just Scott with a perfect strategy to win the title?
Well, and I think he may have been saving tires there initially on that second run towards the finish. Just trying to save a little bit of fuel so that he would be within a safe window, obviously. But yeah, I was throwing the kitchen sink at that track, and I think there are about 10 laps to go. I think it just started stagnating out, and I think we started evening out, and then I think I had a bad entrance into turn one. I can't remember which lap it was, but then yeah, he was able to walk away a little bit, and sure enough, that was enough to get him the win and get him the championship. So I don't know if there would have been much that I could have done differently, but yeah, we utilized every little bit of those tires that we could.
You don't end up with the trophy and the series title like you wanted, but I imagine there has to be a lot that you take away from this experience. So what stands out to you, and what have you learned here in this season that you'll try and take to next season?
I think looking forward, we managed to get ourselves 2 wins on the season at California and at Kansas. So, that's a good step in the right direction. We didn't get our first wins last season until chase time started. So it was good to get those wins a little bit earlier on in this season. But yeah, if we want to just keep our competitive spirit up, I think if we just run a little bit better, I think we've got one of the best average finishes as far as across the board in the standings goes. So we got a lot to be proud of there. But yeah, I think if we could just get a little bit more speed, don't know exactly where we're going to find it, but we're certainly going to keep searching. If we manage to start up a little bit further towards the front, that can certainly help as far as getting towards the front and staying there a lot easier. And but yeah, I think looking forward, I think it's just a matter of maintaining that good consistency, and yeah, hopefully we can end up in the same spot, only 2 spots ahead this time, so that we can get the championship next year. So looking forward to it.
There are a lot of people that make that 12 truck happen and be as successful as it has been this season. So here's your moment. Go ahead and give your thanks to all the folks that you need to thank for making the season such a success.
Well, of course, I can't go without mentioning all the teammates, Young Guns Motorsports, Aaron, George Hendricks, Jamie Walker, all their support. I think we really, second year in the team as far as that goes is definitely been proven to be an improvement in terms of our chemistry. And I think having two team trucks in the final race of the championship this year, I think speaks a lot towards that. Looking really forward to what the future has in stock for the team. So, of course, got to thank all the friends and family back home that are watching and all their support. Can't thank them enough. It's been a heck of a ride this season. I've been very proud to be able to make it this far in the championship, and of course, got to thank you guys in the booth for what you guys been doing for this league all season. It's been phenomenal. It's been a lot of fun watching all these replays, and got to give a shout out to all the dads out there tomorrow. Happy Father's Day, and yeah.
Thanks for the time and speaking to us, Greg, and we will see you here next season.
All right. Thanks, James. Thanks, guys.
There's Greg Mall, championship runner-up, third place in tonight's race at Homestead, Miami. And from Greg, we turn to our third place man in the championship and the fourth place finisher in tonight's race, the number 3 truck of Aaron Bennett, who is standing by with our Austin Coupe.
Yeah, standing next to the number 3 of Aaron Bennett. A little mistake off of pit road cost you the championship. Aaron, just go through with what happened on pit road there. I know it's not exactly what you want to maybe talk about, but a good run for you in the 3 career this entire season. We're so close to win so many times and had a really good, consistent season this season.
Yeah, I didn't need those cautions to come out, any of those cautions. The first caution gave me enough. I came down to pit road because for some reason I wasn't getting as good as fuel mileage as everybody else, probably because I guess I was 4 seconds faster over the course of a run. That's the lead I had built up before that, or when green flag stops had happened. And I didn't want that to come out. That was going to come out just perfectly. And if it stayed green like this race did last year, it would have I had it in the bag. But, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle too. But anyway, I had to end up saving fuel there. I was clutching every lap there after that last caution, and I was just trying to save, and I got within my window. And in practice, I did a full fuel run and took 2 tires and realized there was no difference in the lap time fall off, and I was going to do it. And except this time coming out of the pits, I lost focus. Something happened up around the computer, and all of a sudden lost focus. Next thing I know, I was sideways and down in the grass. And I got it rebounded, though, and I was faster than those guys because by the time I got it straightened out, I was 9 seconds behind them. And I ended up finishing 7 seconds behind Greg, who was in third. So I was fastest truck, but fastest car don't always win. But hey, I was just happy to run good here at Homestead in the sponsor titled truck. It just sucks getting bring it home for the sponsors, but oh well, we'll go on to next season.
Yeah, we mentioned BNC coming on for the season and just how much of a big part they've been throughout the season, and I'm glad we get to talk to you. I think we'd be able to talk to you anyways at least some point in the broadcast this evening. But talk to us about BNC's commitment, and maybe tell anyone listening out there about BNC, what they do. And they've been on all 30 races, and even the sponsor for some of these races. In particular, just kind of go through us and tell us everything really that you'd like to say about BNC.
Well, me and a friend of mine started a business not too long ago. Started it local here in Delaware where we live, and we're growing every day. We have fun doing it. We enjoy doing it. We do a good job. In this area where we live is a tourist area, and there's a lot of business competition in the area. But we do good. We manage well, and we service anybody in Delaware or in southern Delaware and in southern Maryland. So if anybody's in that area, give us a call. Give me a call, 302-381-6073. And people in the chat, don't call my number just to talk either. It better be business inquiries only.
well, before we let you go, of course, BNC makes it happen for you on that number 3 machine, but any other thanks and shout outs you'd like to give there?
I just like to say, tip the hat to Scott Simley on winning the championship 2 in a row in a chase format. That's utterly impressive. Nobody in real NASCAR has won it twice, and won it 2 times in a row in a chase elimination format like this. So that's incredible. Hats off to him. I'd like to say hats off to Greg in second there. I was pulling for him to win, but I was pulling for Greg to win, but circumstances come about, and he didn't have enough to get to the end. I honestly didn't think Scott was going to have enough, but I just like to thank my teammates, Greg, Jamie Walker, George Hendricks, who wasn't here tonight. He's at a family barbecue and whatnot. But tonight was fun. Just want to thank all. I want to thank all the drivers for coming out. I'm also admin over here too, and thank all the drivers coming out and supporting USR, and anyone in the chat. We got a summer series starting up July 15th in the trucks. We added 4 short tracks. It's an 8-race season, 4 short tracks, 4 intermediate tracks. So that'll be fun. As long as you have iRating above 2,000, it won't be broadcasted. It's free. It's just for fun. And you must be 18 years old to race. And that's all. And thank you guys for broadcasting. I had fun all season.
Thank you for bringing the series to us and bringing it every single week as series admin as well. And there you have it, Aaron Bennett, number 3. And James, that's the conclusion to a 30-race season, down to 3/10 for the win in 1.4 seconds to a championship deciding moment. The 68 gets it done, 2nd season in a row, and I gotta say that was a impressive season to be part of. About half of it for myself. Evan Pasoko covered the other half, and then we get to have you on board for the last race here.
Not on the broadcast team for this USR BNC Landscaping Truck Series, but I have been watching from afar. And this is one of the most entertaining series I think you're going to find on the sim. These trucks naturally provide close competitive racing just about anywhere they go. There are a few exceptions, but not too many places that don't deliver an entertaining race. And I think, as Aaron said, you have to tip your hat to the 68 of Scott Sibley, because it's tough to repeat in this system. It's designed to make you capitalize on specific moments and not necessarily be the most consistent driver in this series. But credit to him. He's been the best of the best when he's needed to be, and now he's the first 2-time champion of this series. So credit to him, and look forward to seeing what happens with the series when we get back to Daytona in November.
Yeah, and I think something I mentioned at Bristol earlier on in the season was not only do these guys have really good racing etiquette next to each other, but it kind of goes with the racing etiquette, is that they're very good at driving next to each other and being just very spacious, just really allowing. I think we've seen some of the cleanest races we've seen in this series among all the series that we do, especially with the fact that they have the trucks. They're a lot slower. They're a little bit closer in space than a lot of the other series that we cover, James. And the fact that I think we had less cautions per race, I think, last season, and then compared to a lot of other series on the iRacing service, not just through us, but league-wise, that these trucks, this truck series is really kind of a gem, I'd say, in our wheelhouse whenever it comes to the cleanliness of their racing. And I think all these guys know each other. You saw that, he wanted Greg Mull to win the race, that being Aaron Bennett, but still tips his hat to Scott Sibley, acknowledges the fact that, and the respect. I think that's a big thing with this series. There's a lot of respect. And I think that's without being said, and you could just see it on the track.
I think by default, with the way the sim is set up and the licenses are set up and the class structure is set up, you think of the trucks and you think, oh, Class C, drivers that aren't necessarily the most experienced, but they're trying to make their way up the ladder to Class A, and maybe they might wreck a little bit by default since they're not as experienced, but they'll find a way to make it work in the end, right? But that's not the case here, because here you have drivers racing because they just love racing trucks, and they're all really, really experienced. Of course, they're all Class A, but, these guys are out here because they really, really like this truck and really like the way it provides something to the sim as a whole. And I think when you get drivers running in cars, not necessarily for, bumping up your iRating, your SR, or anything like that, but you're doing it for the love of the actual vehicle, it generally makes for much better racing on the racetrack, and that's what we've seen all season long with this series.
Well, the curtain must close at some point tonight, and that time is now. As always, we want to give a huge thanks to the sponsors, BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series, or just BNC Lawn and Landscaping Service LLC, for coming on board for all 30 races, including some specific race sponsorship. We also want to thank Joe Real Timing as well for coming on board, and all the fans, drivers, and everyone else who makes it happen behind the scenes. Then Andy, Laura, DJ, and from the team tonight, myself, Austin Coop, James Pike, and Cisco Scarmuza. We thank all of you for coming, joining us for the championship night, congratulating Scott Simley on his victory and championship tonight. And we will see all of you at the next track later on in the season. Thanks, and have a good night.